How's it going, everyone? Let me check my mic is on. How are we? Everyone good? Welcome back. If you weren't here last week, welcome. In front of you right now on the screen, you can see a project that I started on the stream last week. Just a kind of like a garagey vibe track that I started. Hopefully you guys can see me all right. Let me just check. All looking good to me. FL Studio, yes. How are you guys doing? This is FL Studio 12. If I'm not mistaken, 12. Yep. I was a latecomer to 12. I was using like 8 and 10 for years and years and years and years. We'll let a few people arrive. I know, like once 7 o'clock hits, tends to be a few heads in the building arriving late. Rockstar, I'm good. How are you doing? Are you good? Can I do 4-4 next? Do you know what? I haven't really made too much 4-4, so why not? Maybe we'll do some of that. The idea with these streams is what I want to do is create a song from scratch. So if you watched last week's, you'd have seen literally starting with an empty project. Original standard FL project, and each week I'm going to add to it, try and finish the track, and then show you lot what I do with it after. So get it ready for a pre-master, get it mastered, show you guys what the options are for mastering online, distribution, how I promote my releases, everything. So then eventually, hopefully, you'll see how the song was made, what I did to it before I needed to get it to mastering. Even little things like maybe like looking for places you can get artwork done, ways to find decent people, how to promote your release, all of it. And then it'll hopefully come out and everyone will be able to see it land on all the streaming platforms, Bandcamp, all of that. And you'll all feel a little bit invested in it. That's the idea. That's the idea I have anyway. And hopefully we can deliver that. Let me, just for a minute, I'm going to play some more music for a sec. Just to sort of ease us in.
We voted to come out of the European Union.
Fire a couple of tweets out before we get into it.
And we've now got a Prime Minister who nobody voted for. Not one person.
It's always down to marketing as well. Definitely. Always has been, always will be. But more so now, to stand out. And hopefully I can teach you some of the tricks of the trade. Some of my tricks.
What a wonderful country to be part of. You lead us off a cliff. And you disappear.
So this one in the background, one of mine. If you're a Twitch head and you're not familiar with who I am, I'm a producer, DJ from South London, UK. I've worked with lots of artists down the years, ranging from local startup garage MC types all the way up to people like Snoop Dogg, MIA, Skepta, JME, Wiley, Frisco. Yeah, lots of people, man. So welcome. This is not a masterclass. I don't collect, as much as I've got some good credits to my name, I don't count myself as like an absolute mastermind in the studio. So hopefully, I'm hoping that you lot will be able to follow what I'm doing and kind of get an idea, at least for yourself, of how to do this stuff. Yeah, this is one of my favourite bits as well, to be fair, of my own stuff, definitely.
Well done,
A couple
guys.
of tweets and we'll get started.
Great work. Superb. What a wonderful country to be part of.
King Dimitri, what's going on, sir? Welcome. Oh, there's a few of us in here. So what I'll do, I'll pause that and we'll get into F. I'm going to try and keep a little eye on the chat. Got my chat down there. Shout out everyone locked in. I'm going to try, if the levels don't sound right for whatever reason, or if you're getting too much echo from my speakers. I watched back a bit of last week's stream, and I know that like I haven't quite figured out the exact perfect balance between the mic gate, the noise gate, and the distance and the volume that I have my music at when I'm producing. But as I explained, my hearings have got pretty shit down the years, and that means that I have to have things slightly less when it gets to the end of what I'm trying to do. But anyway, without further ado, let's ease back in where we were last week. Going on there, not even sure if we used that. Start cleaning things up a bit. So this is where we got to last week. The idea was we were going to make something. I asked people in the chat to let me know maybe what genre to work with, what tempos, all of that. Obviously, everything's still open for suggestion. We might change things up. I'm working at 127 beats per minute. If you're watching the cursor on screen there, there's my tempo. Right at the top there where I'm circling. Let me just make sure that you guys are getting the mouse on here as well. Can't be sure that you make sure. Window. I'm just watching the stream now. It looks like. Oh no, you are getting the cursor. Good. All right, sweet. So yeah, up here, 127 beats per minute. We said that we were going to go with something a little bit wavy, a bit garagey, but with some grime influence. So just to give you guys a blast of where we're up to so far, I think what I'm going to be focusing on today is building the structure of the song a little bit, and building some edits into the drums, maybe some differentiation on the chords, and probably need like a lead in there or some vocal chops or something like that. So that's where I see this being in a minute. Anyway, I'm going to let you have a listen of where we got to. Hopefully you can hear it. No sound now. Oh, hold on. Okay. Alright, I figured out what's up. The reason is I've got my audio settings in FL still set to my Fireface. I need to set it to Voice Meter Virtual ASIO. Now, let me check if you hear that? Looks like we can hear that. Alright. So we start since 16 bars into the song. This is where we got up to. Now you'll be able to hear it. Here we go. There. So that's where we got to. Very beginnings of a track. For me, I work quite slow. So that was actually quite a lot to get done in the couple of hours that we started last week. So obviously there's not a lot going on in the intro until the pads come in. It's like a 32 bar, which we might shorten down. I know people are talking about it speeding it up, but I'm personally I quite like this tempo. At the moment, I think speeding it up. I mean, people are talking about 132, just to give you a little blast of what that sounds like. Sounds a little bit fast for me. We're going for more like wavy garage. This is just like beginning to sound like garage, straight up. we slow it down a little bit, it starts to sound a little bit more like it sits in between stuff, which is what I'm always trying to aim for. Like, take lots of things I like and make something that sits in between all of them. So we got those wavy pads in there. We got our drums. We were talking about potentially like cutting up some vocals. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I have anything that is going to suit. So what I'm probably going to do, people were asking me earlier today, like, where do you get vocal samples from? And I answered that, oh, big up Rockstar for the tip, actually. I've just seen that. That means I got to open a can of beer. Thank you. That is extremely kind of you. Cheers. Cheers to you. This is a strong one as well. It's definitely going to get wavy now. Yeah, so someone was asking me online, where do you get vocal samples from? And to be quite honest with you, I'm not 100% sure where. I know places you can get them from. Obviously, if you want to pay for royalty-free samples, you can get vocal packs online from places like Splice, Loop Masters, you know, all those sample pack companies. So what I'm thinking is I've been looking into this site called Looperman. Pretty decent. If you've never used Looperman, I'm going to show you guys about Looperman. Let me just make sure that signed in and it's going to work. So, I'm going to try and share this with you guys now. And we're literally, hopefully you'll be able to hear what I'm doing. I'm going to turn on my desktop audio as well. Okay, so we're going to go through Looperman. I'm going to try and find something together. A sample that is going to suit this vibe, right? So here's the vibe. And there's a little sample in there already. So I kind of know in my head what I want it to sound like, but until I hear it, I won't know. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's do this. There we go. So this is the Looperman website, and I've already got onto the acapellas page, right? So something that I want to like make clear here is this is quite important here. Acapellas, vocals, and rapping. The acapellas, vocals, samples, and rapping listed here may be used in your projects, but the original artists who uploaded them remain certain rights. Please check the detail of each acapella, vocal, sample, or rap to see exactly how they may be used. Obviously, the whole point of what I'm doing is I want to find something that I can use in my song. Ideally, I don't want to have to credit anyone for it, which is why a lot of people would use like a sample pack. I'm not looking to use an entire vocal. I just want like a word or two. So I'm not sure if this is going to be right for me, but while we're here, I want to show you a little bit about it. So what you can do down here, you can search, and I've searched there, free commercial use, which means that you can use it, right, without asking permission. But obviously some people will ask in the description that you credit them as like a featured artist or something like that. But like I said, I'm not looking to use full-on vocals here. I literally want words or like noises. So I'm not sure if this is going to be right. I'm probably going to go through my own sample library in the end. But just to give you a rough idea of what you can get on here, let's try and find something. Single hooks, phrases. Let's go with that because we don't need whole. Male or female. I'm going to go with female vocal. Vocal style. Singing only. I don't want rap vocals. Auto-tune, I don't mind. Date, any date. 25 acapellas per page. Now let's find and see what it comes up with. And we'll have a little listen. And hopefully you guys can hear this. I'm going to just check that you can.
When feeling
So you can hear that there. Did you guys hear that? Back Then is your favourite beat of mine, yeah? Uncle Rich, what's going on, sir? Blinkbot. What instrument did I use for the pads? The pads are Contact. Which? This one. That's the pad. That is a... Not sure what instrument. Creative Collection from Big Works. Contact Library. Anyway, back to Looperman. We're going to have a quick listen to some of these. Not sure about that. Although I need to cut this up, so this might not be the worst.
Don't stay awake for too long. Don't go to bed. I'll make a cup of coffee for your head. It'll get you up and going out of bed. Come on, don't stay awake for too long. Don't go to bed.
That's quite nice, to be honest. I'm not sure. I can't remember what key my track is actually in.
You are asleep.
Bit too raspy. Too much going on that one.
I can hear you. I can feel.
Out of tune.
I can hear you. I can feel you. I know that you're. I'm in this lonely. Alive. You are my.
So I quite like that voice. So what I'm going to click on their profile and see what else is on there.
Finger to the world, fuck your ribbons and your pearls.
All I'm listening for right now, literally like words or tones, because I'm going to chop the hell out of it. Now, let's have a listen.
Games, didn't know you could fix this. Don't bother, baby, I'm all gone. You thought I was endgame material. You thought all of this was real. Right from your wrongs, you can't connection.
Bit too.
When will we change? Only time will tell. I'm lost in your eyes, and as we get older, I'll hold on to everything. I'm not bulletproof.
I can't hear what I'm going to do with these just yet, you know.
It'll get you up and going out of bed. Come on, don't stay awake for too long.
I'm going to take this one. I'm not sure actually. I'm not sure if I think I might be distracting myself, right? So I'm going to leave it. But I just wanted to show you guys that Looperman site anyway. You can find samples on there. It's very good for drum samples, pads, all of that. Especially if you're like a new producer, someone just getting into it, you can find a lot of stuff on there that is really usable and a decent way to get your head around things. A decent way to like get a start on some bits. But there's some stuff on there. I'm not going to use it in this song because it kind of defeats the object of what I'm trying to do. I want to create something that I can release myself. I don't want to have to email artists and stuff. But if you did want to use that, some of the artists will request that you feature them as a featured artist, etc., etc. Now I'm going to go through my voice packs. I know I've got a bunch in my drum samples in the techno pack. House and techno. I know I've got some good vocals in here somewhere. Up touch loops. Oh, ghost hack. Vocal library. This might be the one. There we go.
When I fear, where's right there? See what's in, take me somewhere we can be alone. Every day, I can make you feel alright. In paradise, yeah, you and I. Nothing's gonna take you. Please, someone help me. So come and stay with me.
Songs. So this is from a sample pack. Just to give you a rough idea of what to maybe expect in those C minor. That's not going to work.
Baby, open up to me. Don't give up.
Some of these samples appear to be missing. Classic. When you want to get something done, right? Always the way. You just hit escape there.
Hanging on.
Anyway, let me just find myself. So, first things first, I've only got like half a pattern there. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste. Control C, Control V, and I'm going to drag this here. I'm just going to zoom in and make sure that is snapped. So my snap is set to cell, which is dictated by all of these little squares that I'm pointing at there. So if you haven't got that snapped, it can snap out of time. And we'll get into a bit of that later. But now we've got a basic pattern, a basic like half phrase, if you like. Or every 4 blocks, if you know, like there's a minute there. Another 4 blocks would be like a phrase. And then around here, I'd want something to change up. Maybe like a breakdown around here. And then like a second drop and then an outro. Roughly looking to make a song. When I build it instrumental, especially something that's like supposed to be like garagey, that's built like a actual dance record. Shout out everyone, thank you for following, tipping, all of that. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat, but thank you all of you for getting involved. Right, so I'm gonna build in some kind of riff, because at the moment it's all very airy, very paddy. It needs some kind of build into like the breakdown / sample chorusy kind of vibe. So I play this on loop. To loop it, you just highlight the area. So I'm just gonna loop this around for a minute, and try and find a sound that sits. So you guys can hear the loop for a minute. How you all feeling anyway? Hopefully I'm not rushing ahead here. So I've got an unused contact here. Let me just... I'm going to try and find like a lead synth or something to add in here. Let's get into... Just trying to find a sound. I mean, that sounds... We were talking about bringing in some like classic rhyme. That kind of glidey sine wave, square wave vibe is probably bang on what we were talking about last week. So I'm going to mess about playing with this sound on top of the loop for a bit. This can take me a while, as you're going to see, right? Shout out Cert1. What's going on, sir? Excuse me for not being in touch as well. Like, really need... That's still on my agenda. I like that sound. Okay, right. Bear with me. I'm not musically trained. This is all going to be a bit of a trial and error. Gonna give it its own pattern. Pattern 9 seems to be empty. I feel like that bass has got extra tonality in it, which I don't... I'm trying to think how I need this to sound. Now I know where I'm going wrong. I thought there was a tone in there, and now I know what it is. It's that. It literally is. That is playing in a... There you go. Now, I knew I could hear something that sounded off, and it's that. You can see there, this contact that we've opened, this sound, was already playing in a pattern because I had it muted, and I just reused up the contact. So I'm going to cut that out. Make sure that's not playing anywhere else. Good. Alright, now, get back to our pattern. And it should sound a bit better now. Ready? We're not going to have that tone. There you go. Turn that back up a bit. There we go. Okay. I think I know what I'm hearing here, so I'm going to go piano roll. So I can tell it needs to be shorter. Cool. Right, so I think that's... See it? That's what I was looking for. Okay. Now we can paint our pattern in. I'm going to colour that so you can see it nice and easily. We're going to call that our sine riff 1, and I'm going to colour that nice bluey colour. There you go. So now we can see it on our timeline. And that isn't something that's going to come in straight away. That's to give us a little bit of build. So just take us from 8 bars before the drop to have a listen. Okay, that's almost where I want it, but the sound isn't quite... It's not banging for me just yet. Firstly, I think that note is a bit... What I want to do is make this monophonic and not poly. I can normally do that inside the plugin. Let me just check if it's possible. Glide, reverb, order, ARP. Voices. Max, maybe bring that right down. Let's see if this... Okay, that's going to give us that glidey. I'm going to turn the glide up a touch. And see, it won't have any effect just yet, but it will have an effect in a minute. So you can hear it's quite like abrupt and punchy. If I turn the glide up, it's going to sound a bit more glidey, which is, funnily enough, the best way to describe it. And we were talking about that classic grime. Now, the glidier we get, the more grimy it's going to sound. But that's too slow. Still a bit too slow. That's about right. Maybe a little bit. Cool. So, let's have a listen. still sounds a little bit abrupt to me, and it might be because there's no overlap. Maybe it's... That's what it is. So, I don't know how much of this you guys can really hear, but my ear is telling me already that that sine wave is clashing with the main pad, in that they're trying to compete with each other for the space that is available in the mix. The reason for that is they're both sat bang in the middle of the mix, and they're hitting a similar frequency on the EQ. This is something that you'll learn as you get more into your production, like about EQ, mix, master, all of that kind of stuff. But something I like to do is kind of mix a little bit as I go. So just tweak things so that they sit, and it just makes it a little bit easier on the ear, and it just means that when you do get to the mix down process, a lot of the shitty work is already done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this its own channel on the mixer. Let me just check where we're at. So let's go, 7, 8. So 9's available. So we're going to put it on 9. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a parametric EQ 2 on there, because it's quite a nice visual EQ. So then when I play it, you'll see the frequencies it's hitting. And if my ear is speaking to me correctly, if I open one of these on our pad channel, we're gonna notice a lot of the EQ channels are overlapping, and I'll show you how that works. So as you can see here, these red lines are where we're hitting on the frequencies, right? So if I move that 3 and I bring that up a touch in the mix, it's automatically going to sound louder. The lower down this way, the more that's like bass, right? This is the high end, this is the low end down this end. I'm going to pinch that tighter just to give it a little bit of a... As you can see, 4 there. Now, I'm going to bring 6 along here. See this 6 moving around? I just want to give it a little bit of a boost in the high end, just to brighten it up a touch. I'm also going to add a little bit of my own reverb to it, just a basic one, just to brighten up that high end, right? So I'm going to take all the bass out of the reverb. I'm going to bring the decay up a little bit so that it's like, it's big, and the crossover point is going to be quite high. And the dampening can go a touch. Bring the wet down because I don't want too much reverb. Let's just see how this sounds now. Now it's a bit loud in the mix. So tonally, that's where I want it to sit, but it's still clashing with the pad. Sorry if I'm not looking at the chat. I'm trying to keep up as much as possible. FL is my go-to program, yeah. So how do I make loops without becoming too repetitive? So at this stage, they are repetitive. I'm in the early stage of build. Like when we get towards the end, that is when I'm going to go back in and change up drums like throughout the whole track. Little edits on the drums, little edits on the pads, little flicks and flashes of like EQs, little things that you won't even notice to like the ear. They're just like tricks that you add, if you like. So like I said, I wanna separate that little sine wave from the pad. So what I'm going to do is find my pad. If I'm not mistaken, it's down here. I don't think that main pad. Okay, so there's my pad. Nice and easy. They're right next to each other on the step sequence. So I'm going to give this its own spot on the mixer. Now, something you can do, this is a really quick and easy way to separate your two sounds that are kind of clashing, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to channel 9 on the mixer, which is my sine wave. The one that I really want to separate from my pad, right? First thing I'm going to do anyway is pan one slightly to the left. I'm going to put that about 15% to the left. You barely notice it, right? You listen to it. But that is now slightly louder in the left-hand side than it is in the right. So if you imagine your song as you're listening to it in a room, that sound is now sat over somewhere. Whereas sat in the same, trying to sit on the same chair, you need to give every instrument in the room a little seat to sit on, basically. So this one's going to sit just to the left of me. Not too far left that it becomes annoying. I think hard panning is not something that I tend to do much myself. So that is 15%. No, that's 18% left. So I'm going to put this one 18% right. Straight away, you might notice a little difference straight away when we play them together. Here we go. Song. There's already a little bit less of a clash. But to make that even better, what I'm going to do is in 9, I am going to right click it. I'm going to go File. And I'm going to save Mixer Track State. And I'm just going to save this real quick as Sine Mix 1. Right? Save that. In Insert 10, which is our pad, which I want to use to differentiate, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go File. And I'm going to open Mixer Track State. I'm going to open the Sine Mix. And what that does is it basically opens the exact same effects on another channel. So now my pad and my sine wave have exactly the same EQ. But what you can do, this is a little trick. This is why I don't like to use compression too much. I'd rather let things sit where they need to sit, right? So I go into Insert 10 for my pad. And I'm going to open up my parametric EQ. And I'm going to pinch the EQs there. You see the two that I've, the three that I've accentuated. Now, if I was right, earlier I was saying that I felt like they were clashing where they were sat. If I play this now, I think that the pads are going to overlap some of these little peaks. If my ears are being honest to me. So you can see there, right? 4 is hitting all of those peaks. That's why it sounded like it was clashing. Because it is. So what I'm going to do is right where that 4 is, because that's exactly where my sine's main point is. I'm going to bring that down like that, right down, so that the sine wave can cut straight through. The main frequency of that sine wave can cut straight through the pad, but it doesn't have a massive overall effect on the sound of the pad if you listen. And what I'm going to do is boost 5 for the pad touch. I'm going to tighten it up. Boost 5. So I am going to bring that 2. I'm going to bring 2 over slightly here. Take that up. Tighten it. And I'm going to bring 3 down. Now, what that means, if we look at 9, 3, 4 and 6 on our pad have given that sine wave a nice little space to operate in without having to turn anything madly up or down. I've just moved them slightly apart from each other in the room, and all of the strong sounds coming out of that sine wave, I've just taken them down in the mix of the pad, because the pad has a lot more frequencies, is a lot wider, it's a lot more of a ambient sound. Whereas the sine wave has a little bit of ambience, but it's essentially a much shorter range of frequencies. So by like cutting those main frequencies and bringing them right down in the mix, you'll be able to hear that sine pad a lot cleaner without making anything super loud or really compressy. A lot of people like to add loads of compression so that things just come all the way down as soon as a sound comes in. Personally, that's something I hate. I hate when the reverb gets cut. It makes me feel sick. It's a personal hate of mine. Ambiance, says Space Monk. Not wrong. So yeah, I hope when I try to explain to people what I call like subtractive EQ, that's what I mean. It's by finding the EQ parameters that one sound is living in mostly, and allowing another sound to literally just cut all of those frequencies out. It won't change the overall sound of it too much, so long as you pinch those frequencies tightly and don't just bring a massive cut all the mid-range out or something like that. So now I just listen to it. I'm going to have to turn it up slightly in here just so I can check my ears are bad, like I said. Get a little bit echoey, but... So now that pad actually sounds a lot cleaner, and it's probably just because I've taken a lot of that mid-range out, so it's not clashing with the bass as much either. Any question? Bad ear gang inside. Rolling off will make it sound thin. I don't like ever to roll off all the bass. I always leave it. If the mastering engineer at the end of it decides to cut some of that, then so be it. I mean, I don't. That's why I still pay a mastering guy to get some second ears on it. I get the mix where I need it without anything sounding too compressy or too overput. I don't like to push anything. Obviously, I said last week trying to make something a bit garagey, got that dirty drums, lo-fi vibe rather than high, clean, massive production. That's not really something that I've ever gone for, as anyone who's listened to my music will know. That's not really my style. But this is getting somewhere now, I think. I'm still not sure about that first note on the sine riff though. I'm gonna cut that out entirely for now. Let me just cut that. And I think what I want to do is layer something on top of that sound as well. Because I like the sine wave, but I feel like it needs a bit more personality. It sounds for me like a little bit too much of an obvious kind of grime, trying to sound grime. Do you know what I mean? Shout out Dan, Crystal Palace gang. Out to everyone up in the chat. Thank you for following if you just joined in. Big up everyone who's been donating and getting involved. Let's take a break for a minute. If any of you don't have any questions, fire them up away. I'm just trying to think in my head what I need to be in that sound, you know? Bring some sax in. Now that is something I've never done. I'm going to start these are all my really old, you can hear all of the old, cut up samples. Listen to this. But these are where the golden, dirty samples are. Um, what sound do I need in? See, this is half of the thing for me with production, right? And I'm glad that you guys get to see this, because, and I've done like Against the Clock and all of them things before, where you're put on the spot and you just need to create in a short space of time. But this is the reality of production, is a lot of the time you can just sit here like this. In my case, normally I'd be pacing up and down this room with it really loud, just listening over and over in my head, thinking up a melody. I'm not going to do that for the sake of the stream. But sound selection is half the battle, as certain one says. And it's true. You just need to like stumble across the sound or a sound sometimes. Let me have a look. Just filing through sounds all the time. So at the end of this phrase, I'm going to do another drum edit before I get back into that. I need some time to think on the pads again. So I'm going to get into some of these drum edits here. I'm going to make unique. So that means that this is the only pattern that's going to be affected by me changing. If I start editing it, it's going to change it everywhere else that it appears in the song. So I've made it unique. Now I can go into here. And I just need to do a little bit more of a drum shuffle to end the main phrase. Okay. So I'm going to take the snap off. Sounds too robotic. This is probably driving you guys mad. So I'm going to put a little bit of, bring that filter down a touch. And I'm going to take the snap off none. Needs to be really subtle is the point I'm trying to make. I'm like, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna save before I forget. Alright, so now we've got a little bit of a variation on the drum there. Let's have a listen. I'll probably change that at some stage. That sounds too clean. It doesn't sound wobbly. And part of that is because I'm drawing it in, as mentioned in the chat. A lot of people can play their drums in with their hands, which I have the capabilities, but it's just something I have never been good at. I tend to not to do it. Very rare that I play drums in live. Yeah, there is a humanized version on FL, but I don't rate it. It doesn't still sounds a little bit sharp. So what I'm going to do, we start building that structure out now. I'm going to copy and paste this phrase. So then we got a drum structure. We've got our kind of riffs going off. Now I need to differentiate between these two patterns, and normally what I would do is to build a bit of like tension going into maybe a breakdown or a chorus maybe. What I'm going to do, there's two things that I think I would normally do, right? I'm going to build on the pad, bring like some drama into the pads a bit, and maybe some shakers just to like move the percussion along a little bit. Copped beg to differ again from Bandcamp. Shout out Meister Dubs. Yes, shout out the Bandcamp gang. Let me just put these links. I think, is that right? No, probably not. There's there we go. So there's tips, there's songs, so you can find my playlist. I need to do one for Bandcamp, but it's Plastician. Plastician.bandcamp. And you can find all my stuff there. All of the terrorism bits as well. So let's have a look. Shout out everyone up in the chat. Quite a few of you watching along today. Welcome if you just joined. We're about halfway through today's stream, and we're just getting into building edits, new layers, and into the beginnings of structure. I reckon by the end of next week's session, we'll have this song almost done. About 6 hours. So you can get what? Get FL Studio 30% off. You can get it 30% off if you wanna, if it's your birthday, yeah. So yeah, I'm using FL Studio. I've always used it, or a version of it. So anyway, without further ado, like I said, we've got our basic build of the song here, right? So we need to build some to the pads. Need a little bit of drama. So I think I know what I want to do with it. So I'm going to make unique. I want to just add like an extra layer. Higher ones. It just sounds like a little bit of luck now. With a little bit of luck. I pitch it down an octave maybe. So I think something like that. So that's how I'm going to have the first phrase. So that's going to be there. Then it's going to go. So it's going to go that. And then we're going to go make unique. And this one's going to go up. zoom in on these slightly off. That's not a bad thing. Let's bring the lows down a touch. Gonna have a listen to how that changes over. Sitting right with me on this one. I'm gonna have to change some. What I might do with this, rather than add a layer on the top, is bring in a different pad just for those high frequencies to add like a little extra bit of texture. Shout out everyone in the chat. Did I make Still Tipping on Fruity? I made everything on everything ever heard, apart from Funeral Vibe, which was made on Reason and Cubase. Did Mike Jones ever get in touch? No. And there's a good reason for that, because he didn't clear the sample himself. So it wasn't his sample. For a minute then, Dimitri, I thought I said £3,000. Quit my job. Shout out you. Thank you for your tips, sir. Yeah. Mike Jones, William so he couldn't have even got in touch with everything else on that song. No sample. All replayed. Fruity is sick. I use it for some stuff. Let me have a look here. You just have to watch tutorials and experiment. That's true. You guys are doing exactly what I do normally. That would have been a lot of Morleys. How did I start getting commissioned for stuff? In which sense? When you say commission, kind of stuff. Give me an example of something I was commissioned for. Show you how it came about. Spooky day. So yeah, Mike's dropping out a bit. It's probably because I'm talking quietly. I began to realise that it's not the mic cable, it's just what I've got set in. Making music for rappers. I've never made music for rappers. They've come to me for beats, or I've asked them to work with me. This is a different time we live in now, where people are like putting beats on the internet and rappers are hitting them up. I know pretty much every rapper MC that I worked with. Any MC or rapper that I have come to work with has normally been just because I've been active. Even soundscape stuff, if I did, So it's similar. I just built up my own shit, and when people take you a bit more seriously than this, but most of the rappers I work with are people that I'm friends with, and maybe they weren't that big. Worked with them, we were starting out together, like Skepta, JME, all those guys. Did Skepta come to me first? No. I had a publishing deal with a major, and I had access to studio, and I asked him if he wanted to come work on something for my album, and I would do something for his. So we did Intensive Snare and Real Things, and he wanted Intensive Snare for his album. And yeah, I mean, me and Skepta were friends. I used to spend like nearly 3 or 4 days a week just hanging out with him back then. So we were always working on music. Intensive Snare was just one of the few things that actually did come out. But we sat and worked on so much music back then. Should you be approaching MCs with cash in hand for vocals, or just build your rep till they want to hop on? I think it's hard for me to give that advice properly, but I would say now maybe a mixture, because in some cases it's easier to just get an MC to turn up and do the work, got just some money to pay them for a feature, and in some cases just to swap. I don't know, do a swap deal. If you've got a bit of clout in the game, if you've been about, then they might need a beat from you for their project. You might want them to feature on yours. And then, you can keep money out of the equation, which sounds like shit advice. In this day and age, that can be absolutely shit advice as well. But I tend to work with people I like and trust. And swaps are still a thing for me, definitely, if I can get one back. But yeah, like I said, most of the MCs I work with are my personal friends. So I'm not too worried about necessarily that money situation. Did I use a snare for the track Char from MJ Beat It? Yes. Good spot. That is exactly where I got one of those snares from. That's true. Where did you hear that, or did you read that somewhere? I'm sure I've said it before somewhere. I did. I sampled the snare out of the intro from Beat It. I suppose you can hear it now. Think about it. Right, I'm chatting away here. I'm trying to find a pad, something to sit on top, almost like an ambient pad or string. Let's have a listen and see what these choirs are not too bait. I think that's too bait. Too short. How do you make grime beats when it's just 140 and a vibe? Like, how do you make it intending to be grime? Do you know what? It is. I don't ever try. I'm never intending to make a grime beat, if that makes any sense. I was just doing my shit all the time. And no, it didn't even have a name when I started making it. So it wasn't even called grime. We all thought we were making garage still. Too real. Let's get some pads rather than... but I like some of the sounds in here. I feel like the pads might be a bit more like what I'm trying to find. Even if a gated one might be. That could be interesting. Let's try that one. I'm usually least successful when I sit down and say, okay, I'm going to make this kind of beat. Yeah, I mean... I think most people will think a lot of the stuff that I consider to be grime just sounds whack, but when I'm just trying to make beats, it tends to be quite grimy. That's not sitting properly. Which contact instrument is this? This is down here. I think we're in one called Deckhead. So I bought up a lot of the packs from this company called Big Works, just because they're quite cheap, and I bought like all of them for about 500 quid. You like a gated synth, yeah? I just think the gate wasn't sitting quite. See, this is kind of the thing I was looking for. A gate is basically like an on-off switch. So in that case, it was on the overall volume. So it's like going rather than just a straight, like, it sounds more like this. That's like a gate. I'm going to see what this sounds like on top. I think this is it. It needs to be quieter though. There is a sound in there that I need to get rid of. So inside here, in here, there's two sounds. There's a sound in there somewhere. I like that sound. I'm just going to see if there's another one. Ah, that might be even better. Perfect. It won't go higher than that. I kind of need it to be. That sounds nice. We're going to get there, guys. We're getting closer. I like these textures. See if this one we can make work. Raymond, how are you doing, sir? We just need some kind of like white noisy vibe. Here for the vibes. You came to the right place, sir. Trying to feed up the vibes as we go. That's what I want. Right. We need that creepy air up in the mix. It's not in tune, which is a shame because I like that sound. That was kind of the texture I was looking for, but it won't go high enough. I just need... So Dark Energy has some nice kind of like drones and atmosphere into this. Problem with some of these is they don't go low enough. I need them to be like higher, sorry. Coming to NZ, yeah, I was hoping to, man. I was hoping. It's nice to hang out with you guys. Yeah, the artwork on this is nice, isn't it? It was what drew me in straight away. This was the first synth that I bought from Big Works for Contact. And it was actually one of the first Contact libraries I ever bought. Didn't really use Contact before. And was trying to get a bit more into, like, get my head around some of the, like, trap production that was coming out. And I saw a video on YouTube for this one. And so this is Big Works, I think it's called like Deep. This one's called Dark Energy. So yeah, I paid like 500 quid for like everything that they put out, which is a lot. A lot of these synths in my Contact libraries are from that same purchase. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. There's some seriously nice sounds in here. Look at that. Beautiful. Right, it is a lot of money, but it's a lot of sounds and good quality at that. Let's see if we can make this one fit. Ah, it's just out of range. Does that work? Raymond, so my name is Plastician. You can find me on most social platforms the same. This is the only one, Stishcast on here, but Plastician on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube. Well, not YouTube actually, just got a label YouTube, Terrorism. Oh man, none of these are reaching that high that I need. Oh, they're all stopping right there, right at that note I need. I guess these aren't designed to be as high up as this, so like maybe into the pads might be better textures, gated texture pad. Let's see what they're saying. Oh wait, that's not the Dark Energy pads is what. I could switch octave if I play it in and then record it as audio, and then I can pitch it up. That would work, but I'm a bit lazy. Let me That's nice. Maybe this works. Okay. Yeah, so that's the pitch. I see what you mean. If I start switching up the pitch, it will affect every note on the keyboard. So when I'm trying to play things in key, for someone who's not musically trained, I'm going by ear, and I think that would just make my job very difficult. So I like to keep everything where it's supposed to be. But yeah, I could have gone audio and then just pitched up that way. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Let me save this. I need to add some sort of swooshy effects in for the transitions. We'll do that in a sec. But I'm still feeling like that top pad is not sitting quite right with me. It's not quite sitting right with me. So bear with me. We're going to start messing about. This is the part of production that not many people like to show you. Right, but this is the reality of it, at least for me, is I can spend some time playing around with sounds. I'm quite happy with where that little pad that we added in sits now. But the problem I've got is the high note on this pad. It's way too resonant, and I can hear the LFO on it. It's like ringing off. I'm trying not to have that. I'm trying to it sounds a little bit forced. So what I need to do is find another sound. What sound? I need something. Let's go. I haven't used FM8 for a while. I'm not sure. This is going to ask me for my reg code. Something up with my Korg plugins. Group the pads and compress together. Do you know what, Lukey? I don't use compression ever. I don't touch it. I don't like computers making decisions for me on my mix. So I don't actually mess about with compression. Only time I use compression is occasionally on vocals. But I don't like sounds fighting their way to the front of my mix. I like them to find their seat in the room, as I was explaining earlier. They need to sit in the room somewhere. So I don't really mess with compression too much. Occasionally, very, very little bit on vocals. That's it. I don't put compression on anything. Very, very, very limited amount. Like you'll see when we get to mix, I might add a tiny bit of like sound goodizer or something like that. Maybe on snares. things that need to cut through a little bit, but never on pads. Never on pads. Never on bass. Never on anything that sits quite central in the mix. I just can't stand. When I can hear reverb getting sucked away, makes me sick. So I don't really mess about with compression on pads. It takes the ambience out of pads for me. Let's have a look what we got here. I like this. Super 80s VHS wavy. Serious name. Yeah, I mean, some people love a bit of sidechain. I'm not one of those guys. It's not my vibe, personally. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's some people love it. I personally, it's not for me. It just sounds. I'm used to playing in very loud clubs, very heavy, weighty, bassy clubs, and if the kick is forcing its way through subs, it sounds like the bass is cutting out constantly. So it was something that we would never have done in the playing in all those like dubstep raves back in the like mid 2000s. If your tune did that, people would not rate you. So it's just something I've taken with me. Right, let's see if this works. Let's see if this high end. This is sitting much nicer. This is starting to make me feel happy again. We've got lots going on now, so I'm going to see if I can get away with taking that high end out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut Control X, and I'm going to use that high end on a whole new pattern with our new sound. Let's check this pattern's empty. Perfect. Piano roll, Control V. There we have it. Let's see. That needs to come up a couple of octaves. Let me see how that sounds there. It needs to come up a couple of notes. Right, so let me have a quick look at the chat. Sidechaining is basically you set a rule so that every time a certain sound hits, it cuts the volume on something else, or it sends the volume of something else to a specific point in the mix, normally down. So what most people talk about with sidechaining is in kicks, and it's an EDM technique. So you ever listen to like trance or like big EDM where the bass is always off the kicks? So it's like boom, 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 like off the kick. That's because the kick is sidechaining all the sub out of the mix, so that all you can hear at that point is the kick, and then the bass comes back, and it's like this. I'll show you exactly. Disco. So on side chain, as you can, this shape time a kick. This is different. Sidechain would be sound. So every time a kick came in, it would do that to the bass. But this is going to show you, just so you can hear it on the stream, what sidechain does. All right. Shout out all the gang. Thank you for your donations. Big up. Here we go. Do you want to hear what this sound would sound like if we had sidechain it to a 4 to the floor kick? Just so you can hear what it would do. Shout out the Plastic Man gang. Bang. So here we go. You hear the sub? Now when I take it off, now I put it back on again. Now imagine a program doing that to your bass every time your kick hits. That's why I don't like it personally. It can be effective if you need the kick to really come through the mix. So if you're making like EDM or like heavy like dance, like it needs to be loud, needs to be extremely loud, then that might be quite useful. If you're making dance music, perhaps it ducks it out. So yeah, that's why I don't personally use it. A lot of people use it, and it is definitely a generational thing. It's not something that was used that much when I started out. You'd maybe use it on like a synth, but not on the kick, not on the bass. It was very unusual. What elements do I place in mono? Again, not a lot. Sometimes things like samples. So like, again, like not a lot. I don't put a lot in mono. I know people that do that are like a lot better at mixing than I am though. Don't get me wrong. I don't claim to be some like genius producer, mixer out here. I don't mess about too much with mono stereo, but I have done it in the past. Occasionally with like sub, like if it's just pure sub, like if you just need a clean sine wave, sometimes I'll put that in mono. But most sounds I'll stick. I'll keep them stereo. Yeah, that's me. I try to demodify my mixes by giving things space. Let me just have a quick listen back to how we're getting on with this. Now I know exactly what I want to put in here now. So I'm happy with this. I'm happy that I've lost that high. I'm going to leave it out. I much prefer this, just droney. It's definitely more my vibe. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope I'm not boring you to death. Let's have a look. It'd be used so the needles wouldn't skip on vinyl when you had a big sub. I mean, yeah, there was things like that. But again, a lot of things like that were done by the mastering engineer at the end. I don't get too much into that, but I would sit and attend the cut of records back in the day, and the engineer Jason used to sit there and he would put certain frequencies, I think, into mono. Like he could actually hone in on a specific sound and do that. I mean, I don't claim, again, I hope that you guys are following along, just trying to show. I think that, like, one thing I'm a bit more confident in is, like, once we get beyond this stage, what then to do with the music to make sure people hear it. And I hope that that will be, like, a good reference point for a lot of you guys. I know a lot of people, producers here. Would I make sure the kick isn't clashing with the bass without side chaining? How? Axel, I'm not sure if you were here earlier when I showed you how I separated the pad from the lead synth that was clashing, but that's exactly what I'd do. I'd look at the frequency that the bass is sitting at and compare that with the kick, and then I'd just make sure that the kick, the frequency that the kick is hitting at is just like pinched out of the bass mix so that you can hear it. You give it its space in the room. Imagine every sound in your mix as people sitting in a classroom. If you leave everything pan central, everything's sat in, then every student in your classroom is sat in the same seat. You need to put all of those students in their own seat, right? So you do that with panning things slightly to the left or to the right. You do that with EQing sounds apart from each other. So if they are hitting the same frequencies on the EQ, just pinch some of the frequencies out or move them slightly. And that's how I do it. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. I might have some time before we go. We'll have a little look at the kick and the sub, because I haven't even got to that yet. I'm going to turn this up a slight bit so I can just check it in my ears. Got a lot of atmosphere, but it's not clashing, which is good. I think all of the frequencies are sitting nicely. Let's have a quick look at that kick and just kind of go over that, because I haven't added any EQ into the kick. So my kick is here, I believe. There's my kick. So to do this, I'm going to give the kick its own slot on the mixer. I don't think there's anything on 12. So on 12, I'm going to put in my parametric EQ so I can see. Now we can see where there's a lot of frequencies on that kick, as you can see. But for me, they overbear in main area. If I'm going to move that 2, just bring that up there. As you can hear, it's loud now, right? That's like the main area. So I'm going to pinch that. It's like there, and then there. And then around here, maybe. They're like the main 3 bands, right? So for those asking, there's that's kind of like where my kick is sat in my mix, right? I might even take some of the bass out, the low end of it. It might ruin it though. So in terms of like the sound of my kick, that's kind of like where I want it to be. I like that sound. It's still dirty. It's kind of warm. It's not too punchy. I don't like anything bursting through my mix. So there's my kick. My bass already has a channel on the mixer, and it's got a little bit of a bass boost and a bit of a excite on it. So I'm going to add a parametric EQ. And what channel was my kick on? 12. This was the same technique that I used for the pads and the lead. I'm literally just going to save. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this preset. Save preset as. I'm going to call it kick. Let's call it the Twitch kick. So I know exactly where to find it. Twitch kick. So there's my kick. And then what I'm going to do is going to go into my bass. My parametric EQ on there. And I'm going to load that in like this. Presets. Twitch kick. And now, all of those frequencies that I just boosted for my kick, I'm going to pinch out of the mix on the bass. Like this. So let me turn off the EQ just so we can make sure that we're not like doing anything too drastic to the mix. Right, let's get into just a bit of the bass and the kicks. So hold on, zoom out. So you can hear the kick coming through there, right? Now, if I turn this on, I've pinched them. But what I'm going to do is bring that down like -5. Basically the opposites of where they are on that kick. Now turn it off. And then I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to see if it's that. If we can actually hear the difference. I think it's going to be subtle. All I'm listening for really is scientifically now, I know. Let me just bring that back up actually. So set that one. Because I like to keep all my bass in. I like the audio engineer who does my mastering to figure out where the bass needs to be rolled off. But let's listen to this without the EQ. Okay, that's currently muted. I mean, the kick's coming through quite cleanly anyway, but now if I turn this on, it should be really clean. And hopefully it doesn't take too much weight out of the bass. And turn it off. So it's not that noticeable. You can hear the kick ever so slightly differently. A little bit in the low mids, a little bit more. Raymond, I'm glad, because people look at me like I'm mad when I'm trying to explain this, but it makes perfect sense, right? There's no need to put all this compression and leave like robots to try and figure out where things are supposed to be in the mix. Just put things in their place. If two things are sat in the same frequency, they need their own chairs. That's it. Just split the frequencies up, figure out where, especially in the kicks, if you want the kicks to come out, look at where the kicks are hitting, turn them up a touch, and then take those frequencies out of the bass or the pad or anything you want it to kick through, and it will keep all of that reverb and all of that nice ambience of your pads and stuff, It won't suck the life out of it like a compressor does, but it will allow it to cut through. And that is something that I've always done, and I feel it just gives a much more round and warm mix rather than just blasting everything to the top. Let's have a little blast of this, and let me save that because we've made a little bit more progress now. We've got a little bit of a basic build going on. The next thing that I need to do is build that middle section, which is going to be probably a breakdown for 16 bars and then like another drop. We'll be doing some automation into that. I know I spoke a little bit about automation. So next week I'm going to probably build that middle section. It'll either be like something really built up like a chorus, or just a basic breakdown that takes us back into the back end of the song, which will essentially be another minute of verses, a bit like what we've got now, but a bit different. And then an outro, which will probably be about 16 bars, slowly bringing the drums out, leaving us with something that kind of tails off nicely. And then we can start fiddling around with the mix, but we've been doing a lot of the mix as we go on this. I need to do some edits on the drums. I need to work on a bit more of an interesting intro. And yeah, it's getting there. I'm not going to lie. We've made some progress today. We've added a couple of synth lines. This needs a bit more reverb on it. Take the bass out of there. It's getting there. It is getting there. It's definitely getting there. And I like it. And that's the main thing. I'm quite enjoying this one. It's hard to make tunes when you don't know how they'll sound in club spaces. Definitely. Definitely. I mean, the stock reverb plugin, yes, there is. I quite like that plugin personally. I use it a lot. I do have some other reverb plugins. I got some pretty crazy ones, but almost too crazy. I just like the simplicity of that one. If I need something to really sound wild, then I've got a couple of nice reverb plugins. But in terms of just like adding some subtle reverb, that's decent. Let me have a quick look at what people are saying in the chat. Compression gang. Never really enjoyed sidechaining. Yeah, hopefully. Fuck compression t-shirts. What monitor speakers do I have? I will show you. I have the Focal 6BE. There's a bunch of mess there. You can see that. My Focals. Got my door open out there. Bit warm in the studio today. Before we close out, let me just let's keep things looking nice. We'll recolor pattern, rename and color, and that is our droney pad, and that can be droney pad, and this is our sparkly pad. I never do any of this, but this is good. It is a good habit to get into because I'm like collaborating with some of my friends. It is, it gets messy quick. Certain things like this, pads and stuff like that. I mean, up here I've got my bass. I should really do that as well. We got get K-clip. Egg boxes on the walls. Yeah, do you know what? I do need some soundproofing in here. I mean, it's super soundproof getting out, but it's a bit live in here. Wouldn't be any good for recording vocals. Let me think. Any more questions while I'm here? Or some of the things I definitely need to do. More drum edits. I need to add some effects, like some risers and some splashes into the transitions between patterns. That's a quick and easy job. Usually I tend to just use samples for those personally. Those classic Vengeance packs. Plenty of those in there. Everyone knows about the Vengeance packs. Shout out Meister Dubs. As everyone's still here, there's been a nice growth. If anyone only joined today, you can watch back the first episode where we started this completely from scratch. Spoke a little bit about what genres to kind of bring into the mix. The idea of this one is something a bit garagey, a bit wavy, with a kind of grime vibe in there. So for the wavy stuff, went along that kind of pad route. The garage drums, like old kind of dirty sampled drums, rather than clean, big, punchy kicks and snares, which is more my style anyway. I'm not really into everything sounding super clean. I like a bit of grit and a bit of dirt. If anyone's checked my music out, they'll be aware of that already. I like to use samples, and yeah, we got like those grime kind of. I need to work on the mix on this a touch. This one. So let me just add a bit to this now. There's still too much low mid in there for me personally. I'm gonna bring. Maybe add a little bit of distortion onto it. Multiply. Let's add a bit of multiply. This is sometimes quite nice. Frequency modulate. Starting to give it a bit more character. This instrument is Contact again. From the Ellie Hits Essentials. It still needs a bit more character. We might be able to add some of that. Let's have a look. What's available to us? I'm going to save this as it is now before I get too wild with the sound. What was that? There's actually not a lot that I can do inside this particular instrument on Contact. I don't fuck too much with outboard effects, but let's have a look at. Analog Lab. I've got so many plugins here, right? I just buy like everything. Yeah, give me all of them. And I end up with all these plugins that I've never used. I'm probably trying to load in a instrument into the mixer right now, which we'll find out in a sec. I just like the sound of Analog Lab. Sounds like what I'm trying to do, just kind of dirty it up a little bit. Speedwave. Can tell he's not using a cracked version because he's not saving after every change. I've definitely just loaded a instrument in there. What about like grain space or something like that maybe? Grain space might be a bit too floaty. This one's wild. I like that, but I don't know if it's going to work. Forward resonator. Let's see what it sounds like in the mix. Orchestral. I used to love that plugin. I rinsed that back in the day. I definitely had a crack of that. It is one of the reasons I can't use it anymore. Do you know what? I don't mind that. That sounds alright. Sounds alright. You can tell that my computer's starting to struggle with all of the processing. Let's have a listen. I like that a lot, but it really needs to come down in the mix. Be thinner. And the grain output. Giving it a lot more character, and it's taken that kind of like bait, obvious grime vibe out a touch, which is a personal pet hate. I always feel like I'm mocking myself when I put sounds like that in. Is it this one? I'm going to bring that down in the mix a touch. It's like adding a nice bit of ambience. So grain space is just a wild reverb delay plugin. When I say grain, when I use the word grain, I just mean a bit of dirt normally. It just brings a bit of character. Everything sounding clean is not really my vibe. I like things to sound a bit weird and a bit wobbly. But yeah, before I go, is there any questions? I just want to say thank you to everyone who donated. I can see that I've got donations there. Shout out King Dimitri, Rockstar. Big up SCBS for the sub. If you are a Amazon Prime user, you can subscribe for free, which is great for me. And it means that you get some cool logos and shit on the chat. Like these ones. I got some bangers in there. Oh, hold on a minute. I've got 2 computers on the go. Let me have a look. We got some Terrorism shit up in there. Big up King Dimitri. We got some Terrorism logos. Shout out big up Dimitri. enjoy the So now, like, when you sub, you should get. There you go. You got a nice little terrorism logo there. You see that next to your name? Shout out Easvizzy. I like that. Thank you for your ears, all the years. Welcome. I do these every Tuesday. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I've been doing quizzes, mixes. This is my production show that I do every Tuesday. And if you missed last week's, this is the second one. Last week I started this from scratch, so if you want to watch it back, you can find it in my videos or on my YouTube channel, the Terrorism YouTube channel. Going to be putting these up like a week late. But the best thing is definitely like to come hang out. Footy quiz. I'm going to do a football quiz soon, Dan. I want to make it vibey though. I want to get video clips involved and all sorts. So it's going to take a little while. A bit like the Channel U one. That was like a special occasion. I'm gonna do that. Meister Dubs next quiz probably Thursday. Probably bang one on Thursday. Yeah, I reckon Thursday for the quiz. Tuesday we do this every week. And if you just joined us or if you've been watching, I work on who's the oldest professional team in the world? Is it Addiscombe Corinthians? Something like that, isn't it? It's not Addiscombe Corinthians, is it? It's I can't remember. It's something Casuals, Corinthian Casuals. Is it something like that? I know they're local. Stramur, welcome. Thank you for using your Twitch Prime subscription. I should be shouting this out all day. But if you are watching this and you use Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. And you get all of these cool little logos and things when you subscribe. Like the Play Japan one that is in the chat now. Or the Burnt, which we like to use when we do our quizzes. If you get burnt on the quiz, welcome to the gang. You get a nice terrorism logo next to your name as well. We'll give you a couple splendids up in the chat for that. Sheffield FC. Corinthian Casuals are old. But yeah, we'll do a football quiz. I do quizzes. Probably the next one will be on Thursday. It'll be something music based because I did a general knowledge on Sunday. But come back here every Tuesday. Let's watch this song turn into a song. I don't work on it anywhere but on the stream. So you're going to see the whole thing start to finish. Once I do finish the beat, what I want to do is show you how to get like a basic pre-master bounced out of it. Because I don't use much compression, as you've seen, it's much easier for me to get my pre-master out. I pretty much just have to turn everything down a little bit. Master channel. 90s quiz, that would be sick, actually. That would be sick. We could get some fancy dress going on for that. A little bit of lag. We're back. Yeah, so Thursday do the quiz, Sundays do the quiz, Tuesdays I'm here. And yeah, if you want to see this tune get finished, get mastered, get some artwork done for it, all of these ways, I'm going to show you all of the methods of how to basically get your music out there. All of the places, all of the resources you can get online, all of the good free shit, all of my little tips and tricks. I've been releasing music. If you're not familiar with me, if you just kind of stumbled on the Twitch stream, I've been releasing music since 2002. I'm proper old. I've been in the industry since 2001, where I worked in distribution back in the days of selling vinyl. So I've done it all. I used to have to sell records down the phone to all of the stores in the UK and even to some export companies. Got a bunch of vinyl records over there. Yeah, so I've been about record label. I own my own publishing. A lot of things. I do quite a few bits. Buys to a studio company. Nike. Cool. So if you aren't familiar with me, but you're a musician, give the channel a follow, sub. If you're a Prime user, bust that sub. And I'll be back on Thursday night and on Sunday night. But before then, look after yourselves. Be safe. What else is going on? I've got a mix up. King Apparel teamed up with them and a bunch of wave producers to put this mix together. Stream's lagging. Hope you guys can still hear me. Yeah, go check that out. King Apparel on Bandcamp. A bunch of wave producers. You can download the mix for £1. All proceeds go to the NHS Frontline. And yeah, beyond that, you can support me by subbing on here or buying some music from Bandcamp. And if you are a producer, a little heads up, Bandcamp are giving up their percentage again the 1st of May. So if you've got music you're sat on, I guarantee you, put it out that day, you'll make more money from selling your music on Bandcamp on the day than you will from a month of do things properly. But follow here, be back again next week, and I'll tell you exactly what to make sure that anyone who wants to support you, your music, get onto your Bandcamp page, do it. Without further ado, thank you everyone. I've been absolutely chatting bollocks for the last 10-15 minutes. But thoroughly enjoyed it. Shout out all the gang. Get yourself signed up to Bandcamp. In the meantime, between now and next week, we're going to work on this again next week. If you are a producer and you're not on Bandcamp, sign yourself up to Bandcamp. Next week we'll walk through a bit of that. Because May the 1st is coming. It'll be the 28th next week. We do the stream. Get your music ready. Get an EP together. Definitely EP better than a single. Put like 4 or 5 tracks together if you've got them. You're sat on music. This is the time. You have to get your music for Bandcamp. May the 1st. Do not miss this opportunity. Trust me. I've been selling music on Bandcamp since 2009, as well as everywhere else. In all the years I've been selling music on Bandcamp, 11 years that is, the 20th of March when they dropped their percentage was the busiest day label or ever had Bandcamp. So don't miss this opportunity. If you've got music, get yourself signed up to Bandcamp, and then next week we'll talk about how to make sure people know where to find. And yeah, be careful, be safe. Hope you enjoyed the stream today. We didn't get quite as far as I'd hoped, but we made good progress still. A lot of it is trial and error. But I do feel good about going into... I think we'll get close to finished. So, be there. In the meantime, hopefully see some of you on Thursday and Sunday for the quiz, mix, or whatever. Look after yourselves. Big up for all my new subscribers, all the tippers. Look at that 50 quid on getting a round-in challenge. Definitely looks like I'm going to be going to the pub before the end of the... So, cheers everyone. Keep your drinks charged, and I will see you on... Big up. Peace. Look after yourselves.